There's no way his name's Kenny San Antonio.
Okay, he's not from San Antonio because he has the best accent of all time. He's from Rhode Island. Ken San Antonio. Come on, with that name, you got to put him on the air.
What's up, everybody? It's Ken from Break the Ice Podcast. We're here, episode 3. It's a special episode for me. It's my first one-on-one conversation with a friend of mine, Ian Rubel.
What's up, Ken? First of all, it's Rubel, not Rubel, but that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know how to say that. Well,
it's all right.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah.
It's the name. I just wanted to personally thank you for giving me the push and always motivating, sending me motivating stuff.
Absolutely.
And I really appreciate it. And you were one of the reasons that helped me get this off the ground.
Well, I think you're going to do great. I'm excited to see where this podcast goes from here. Like I said, I got all the belief in the world in you. You got a great personality. You got a great heart. I know with some hard work, this is going to be a very successful podcast.
I appreciate that. But for the people listening and watching, just want to let them know that you're actually an NBA agent, correct?
Correct. I've been an agent for NBA players for the last 15, 16 years. Prior to that, I had worked for the New Jersey Nets in their front office. So that's basically my professional career in a couple seconds.
But what I find it so, well, first off, you have two sons, correct?
Correct. 2 sons.
Are they good at sports?
Good is a relative statement. When people say good, does that mean they're going to play in the NBA or Major League Baseball? Absolutely not. Do they have the fundamentals? Are they good at Little League? Yes, certainly. They're decent.
All right.
But I'm
That's
not
fair.
one of those parents, that have like these lofty expectations that my son's going to be the next Mike Trout or Jacob deGrom or whomever. So as long as they're happy playing sports, making friends, exercising, to me, that's what's important. So to me, like being good is like a relative statement. Are they good on their team? Yes. Are they good statewide, nationally ranked? Absolutely not.
Hey, at least you're fair and honest. I like that.
Yeah.
But you want to know what? I find it so cool how we actually met. So I was at Foxwoods.
Correct.
You seen me on John's show.
Yep.
We became friends on LinkedIn, I believe.
Yep. I looked you up, searched you, click connect, and then got an email from you later that day.
Yeah. Then you came to Foxwoods to meet me.
Yep.
All you wanted to do was bet tennis, and they didn't have the tennis channel.
I've never seen a sports book that couldn't put tennis on for a customer. They don't have that channel, tennis channel. It's on basic like cable. It's not even an upgrade, but for some reason, your sports book didn't have it, which I found funny.
Well, yeah, it was a half-assed one at the time, I would assume. Seen it.
But everybody was very nice there.
But I was the cream of the crop there, though.
Yeah, absolutely. I had a good time talking to you, listening to you, hearing your story. To me, that's a great job. Sitting in a sports book, talking sports all day long, with all the degenerates there. I thought, it's something that you would love. But for whatever reason, we could talk about it here or not, whatever you want. I'm curious to know, like, why you didn't enjoy it so much. Because to me, in life is short. It's about finding a job that you enjoy. I enjoy my job. I enjoy the people that I've always worked with. I get motivated by people that found their like ideal job. And to me, Dana White from the UFC says, create a life that you look forward to waking up each morning. And, for me, working in sports, I was, talking about being a good athlete or not being a good athlete. I was a very average athlete in high school, played basketball, played tennis. Wasn't good enough to play any college level. So I got into sports. I went to school for sports management at University of Massachusetts Amherst and, found my passion, and basketball was my passion back then, still is. And, for the last 25 years, basketball's been my career.
But what I like about you, though, you worked when you were at UMass, you worked under Coach Cal. I think that's so cool.
Yep, I was a student manager in the late 90s, the glory years for UMass. We got to the Final Four in 96, lost to Kentucky, who eventually won the national championship. But those experiences were great. Just learning how an organization works, learning about recruiting, learning about dealing with people, seeing the work ethic behind all those people, listening to their stories. Another thing in life, it's just about the network of people that you surround yourself. I became engaged by you just because I see, how hardworking you are and how driven you are. And when you're in professional sports, no one's reached that level of either top college basketball, playing basketball in Europe, playing professionally in the NBA, unless there's hard work. My whole thing is just about getting a little bit better each day. 0.5%, 1% every week, every month. Over a year, talk about compounding interest. Eventually you get to where you get to. And for me, as an agent, it's just about having players maximize their abilities. They don't all go on to the NBA. A lot of them play overseas. A lot of them play in the G League. And for me, I'm never going to make a player a better rebounder or a better shot blocker or a better ball handler, but just keeping them motivated, not even motivated because they really are self-motivated, but just keeping their head on straight. There's so many highs and lows in life. And what I like to bring is just stability. Like when things are good, I don't believe they're as good as they are. And when things are bad, they're never really as bad as they seem. It's always somewhere in the middle. And that's what that's the approach I try to bring, not only for myself, for my kids, but also for my athletes. And just the work ethic. Just to me, it's not work if you're enjoying what you do. And again, just getting back to finding like what your passion is and just, don't let anything stop you from achieving. Like I believe anything that I want to learn, I can learn. Maybe it'll take a week, maybe it'll take a month, maybe it'll take several years. But whatever I feel like I want to learn, I have that ability too. And the same thing with players with their weaknesses. Whatever their weaknesses are, we can work on those weaknesses. And what your weakness can turn into a strength in 6 months, a year, a couple of years from now. And that's the pleasure and the joy I get from my job, more so than the financial aspects of it. It's just seeing players grow, people succeeding, getting to their, highest, whatever they can get to, whatever their highest goals are.
So what I don't get though, like as an agent, now I'm a big fan of Rich Paul.
Okay.
Because the main reason why is because I read something where after each game he texts a player individually.
Right.
And I like that because it shows he's with you.
Shows how much he cares about them.
Yep.
Regardless whether you're LeBron James or a player that might be the 10th man on the bench or the 6th man, or a role player, bench player. To me, and I'm sure Rich would feel the same, is every player is just as important as the next, regardless of their status or how many minutes they play or how many points they score. To me, I actually work a lot harder on my lower level players than I do on my star players. They need a lot more work done for them. So, and it's a lot more important. It's a lot more life-changing money to have a player that makes $100,000 go to $200,000. That's life-changing money for somebody. That makes a big difference. But whether an NBA player makes $6 million a year or $7 million a year, not one thing is going to change in their life. Their lifestyle is going to be the same. They're not going to even feel like obviously everyone wants to make as much money as possible, and $1 million is a much larger number than 100,000. But as far as lifestyle and important wise, that 100,000 to 200,000 is a much more important number than that 6 to 7 or that 8 to 10 type of thing. And
I always say that
good,
too.
And when a player is that good, teams come to you. Teams reach out to you, make great offers. A lot of times I have to be a salesman with the lower level players or the lesser players because they're not as well known. They haven't been given the opportunity. I feel like a lot of these players are about the same level. They're so good. They're so elite. It's all about finding the right situation and the right opportunities for them and the right coaching to believe in them. A player can go from averaging, 3 points, 5 points to averaging double figures or 15 points a game. So
I think like it's interesting, like how certain coaches get the best out of the players.
Right. And certain teams, like they have great player development where players actually get better, whether it's in the off season or in practice, or they have individual workout coaches where they're getting 5% better each year, 10% better each year. Some teams don't have that that special relationship with the player, and they don't develop the players as much. You can just tell that, the teams that have been successful year after year after year about player development. To me, that's a big thing where I want my player to be. I don't want them to be the same player year 5 that they were in year 1. And I don't want them to be the same player that they are year 1 as they are in year 10. I want there to be, growth as a player and as a person. And as a person, I say, like, that's just as important as how they handle themselves off the court as they do on the court. Because eyes are always on you. How you dress, how you talk to the staff, not only the coaching staff, but the medical staff
Really?
or the public relations, how you treat everybody. Do you act professional or do you not act professional? Um, I've had guys who get undrafted who have long careers in the NBA, and then I've had guys who've gotten drafted in the NBA that very short, 1, 2, 3 years, and are out of the league. So to me, it's not where you start; it's always where you finish. And that's always my sales pitch when I'm recruiting guys. Like, I don't care where you are on day one. Do you see your name on draft boards? Do you see your name on mock drafts? Are you talked about? A lot of times guys aren't. And I don't want that to be a deterrent because they can outwork these people. They can, just because they're unknown or their college situation might not have been ideal over time, they can always catch that player that's projected higher and have a longer, better career than players that might have been drafted extremely higher than they have been.
What is a contract like? All right, so just say I'm your player, right? I
Right?
want to sign. I'm a free agent. What's the negotiations like? Are they very professional, or are they just when they call you? Are they like, hey, we're offering this, or is it formal
No,
and all that?
it's very professional. It's very formal. Teams are well versed on all players. They've been scouted. They know everything, good and bad, of what goes on in the player. And a lot of times, if there's off the court issues or the reputation is bad, let's just get it out on the table right away. Let's discuss it. Why did something happen? What's the real story behind it? Let's not run from issues. Let's try to create a better environment for an individual player or how they can be successful, because basically the team and the player have the same motive. The player wants to be in the best situation and wants the team to win just as much as, like, if not more, as the way the front office and the ownership wants it. Everybody has the same agenda when it comes to success of players.
Really? Because I would think, especially nowadays, it's all about getting paid. That's just my opinion. Because at the end of the day, it's a business.
It is a business, but it's how you approach business. Do you do everything, ethically? Is everything on board? Everything, laid out on the table ahead of time? There's no hidden agendas going on. Obviously, some players, I just want them signed, and once they get signed on a team, it's about steps. Then it's about earning some minutes. Then how do we get on the court and play more minutes? Then how do we earn a starting spot?
Yeah.
And how do we get more shots and get trusted to play at the end of the games? So there's levels to everything. First, it's just getting on a team. Then it's earning minutes. Then it's getting a starting spot. And then it's how can we maximize our statistics to get paid? And hopefully one day end up being an all-star. So there's different levels to everything depending on where they are in their career.
But when you're in the negotiations, was there ever a player that you wanted them to take the deal, and they thought they deserved more, but you didn't want to tell them?
Listen. No player is ever satisfied with their contract. Just on any job any person ever has. Any job you have ever had, I'm sure you felt like you were worth more and wished you were paid more or compared to somebody else. Nobody's ever satisfied as what they get. And to me, I like when a player feels that they're underpaid, because then that's more motivation to go out there and prove that, listen, I should be getting paid more. I'm getting a shitty contract this year, but I'm going to prove next year. And it doesn't matter what you make in 1 year or 2 years or 5 years. It's how do we maximize your earning potential over your career, whether it's 10 to 12 years. A lot of times I'll take a player and put them in a situation where they might make a little bit less money, but the opportunity for them to get more minutes, more shots, play with a better point guard, where they can make a 3x jump or a 5x jump, is a lot smarter than going to a bigger club with more money, less minutes, less opportunities, because year 2, year 3, year 4, their salaries would be going down if they're not putting up numbers.
Okay.
But if they're the best player on a bad team and they're averaging 25 and 10, that year 2, that year 3, their salaries will go. So I always tell players, don't be so concerned on what the 1-year deal is or a 2-year deal is. How are we going to maximize your earning potential over your full career? And I think that those players that realize that and respect that and go in with that mindset are the players that I work best with, who I don't look at as a short term. I'm not trying just to get paid for 1 year.
Yeah.
And I'm looking for this relationship not to last 1 year, 5 years, 10 years, but to be a lifelong relationship. One thing I tell players right away is I'm not their friend. I don't want to be your friend. I don't want to hang out. I don't want to socialize.
Really?
I don't want to be like buddy buddy with you because I want to be able to tell you the truth when you need
Yeah.
to hear something. I want to be friends with you after your career is over. I want that respect factor to be going on while we work together and that we have the same goals moving forward. But this is not, we're not friends. This is business. You know, he has an agenda, I have an agenda. And I look at his agendas a lot of times, that connotation is a negative word. But to me, I look at it as positive. If we both have the same agenda moving forward and we both have an understanding of where we want to go, things turn out, much better. So that's just the approach I heard. I heard Scott Boras, the big baseball agent.
I don't like him.
Regardless, he's super successful.
Yeah.
I heard him on an interview with Michael Kay on the Yes Network years ago. And I heard him say that as well. And I thought I was unique for that. And when I heard him say the exact same thing, that he doesn't want to be the players' friends, while they're playing, I was like, it makes so much sense. And also validation for me as a young agent that we actually had the same mindset. And I'm sure other agents, have the similar, I don't think I'm super unique with that.
Of course you are.
I don't believe so, but
no,
okay.
I do. That's all that matters.
All right.
Yeah, but so all right. After the negotiations, all right, they signed their contract.
Right.
What do you like? Do they buy you anything, or is it like that?
I mean, have I ever had
what's the
players buy
best
me
thing you
stuff?
ever got?
I've gotten watches. I've gotten, they pay me, so that's enough. I'm getting commission off what they make. Or the team in Europe, I get paid by the team. That's enough. If I get a thank you and they're appreciative of it, that's enough.
I like that. That's very
do we go out to
respectable.
dinner? Do we do things like that? Do I get small gifts for the holidays? Yes, of course. But it's not necessary. It's not something that I expect or even want. Like I said, you give gifts to friends and family. It's not definitely not necessary or happens a lot.
You gave me that DeMar Hamlin hat, remember?
Yeah. Well, that's different. I had a friend that works, that works for the Buffalo Bills, and he's very generous, and you wanted that, so no problem.
But all right, so now here's what I really want to talk about. So you referenced Foxwoods, what really happened?
Yes.
All right, here's exactly what happened.
Okay.
No bullshit. So I was working there, as you know, and the job sucked. The pay sucked. The people running it, honestly, no disrespect.
Pay sucked. You say pay sucked, and that's just like what the players say when they go overseas. The pay sucked. They didn't get respect. The situation was bad. But to me, you're only there for a short amount of time. And what was the opportunity lost by leaving or not working there anymore? What was the potential growth where could have you been in 1 year or 3 years?
Nowhere.
Could have you been running your own, you basically got a promotion. You told me you were there for a few weeks and they promoted you. But just because you were smarter than somebody, above you, which happens all the time,
it's aggravating.
There's nepotism in life. There's nepotism in professional sports. I mean, we can go over examples of that. But in life, you just got to deal with the hand that's dealt and make the best of it. Everybody works with assholes, believe me, including me, lots of times. Now, I don't talk about players. I'm just talking about teams that I've worked for in the past, the situations I've worked for in the past, other jobs I have worked for in the past. But I think that's a good lesson, to being able to work with the assholes and deal with everybody and not letting that affect you, not letting that affect your mood or your work. Or I would never let anybody make me quit anything. I would personally never quit at anything unless it just made me so unhappy that my health was being affected.
Well, here's what happened. Well, I really technically didn't quit. And you said about the pay and your players in England and everywhere, wherever they're playing. Yeah, they're not driving there. They're not driving an hour away each day. I mean, come on. It's more money in gas. And not even that.
They're leaving their families for 8 months. And some of them
they're getting paid decent.
Not all of them. Everybody thinks they're making 6 figures out of college. And if you're just a good college player and you don't make it to the NBA, you got to prove yourself in Europe. They're not making, crazy money. They might be making $6,000 a month, $8,000 a month, $12,000 a month. And remember, those jobs are only 7, 8 months out of the year, so they're not making crazy money. A lot of times they feel disrespected. The living conditions aren't great. The heat's not great. The Wi-Fi is not great. Um, that's part of my job, is just keeping players.
Happy.
I understand it sucks, but it's going to pay off in the long run, type of situation. I wouldn't have you there if it wasn't going to like pay off. I'm always about like, what's the payoff at the end? What's the end game? Like for me, like a question I would have for you is like, what's your end game? What's your goal to get to? How long is that going to take? Is that going to take 36 months? Is that going to take 60 months? Is that going to take 10 years? Whatever it is, it's about the journey a lot of the times. It's not about like the dollar sign. It's about enjoying what you do. If you didn't enjoy it, that's one thing. If a player is so miserable overseas, and you can, if you'd rather get a regular job working in the United States and being close to your family, or playing a sport that you grew up in love, they got to make like those type of decisions. I mean, I've had talks with players where I told them they should give up on basketball.
Really?
If they're extremely smart, if you graduated from an Ivy League university and you have an entry level college job that, making six figures or $150,000 a year, why go play in Iceland for a few grand a month? If you graduated from Yale, let's say,
Yeah.
I've told players that, and a lot of times they're like, well, life experience, I want to try it, I want to give it a shot for 1 or 2 years, and they do that, and then they go play basketball for 1 year, and then they say, yeah, you're right, it's not worth it. I'm going to go from making $5,000 a month the next year and make a $6,000 a month, or $7,000 a month, $8,000. It's still not worth it compared to like getting a job in New York City, working in corporate finance, or doing whatever they possibly could do.
Well, that wasn't the thing. The end game. First off, the end game at Foxwoods was none, because you would never get promoted. They don't pay. Seriously, they really don't pay.
Right.
So what happened? So I got tired of it. I loved the job at first, but then the incompetence of people.
Right.
You had the sportsbook guys thinking the Belmont Stakes was a turf race. Come on.
Yeah, you told me like some of
Fucking
these
morons.
things. Yeah, you told me that. But like in life, you never know why somebody got the job or a higher job than you did. But to me, I always feel like the cream rises to the top. Over time, they might not. Maybe in the beginning, they didn't appreciate you. Just thought you were just some, you know, whatever lackey coming. Should be happy with the job and what you're getting paid and the title that you had, and you knew you were had so much more potential than whomever was running it. Over time, you know, people will see, people aren't blind, people aren't deaf, like they might come in with an initial impression, maybe because of like an accent or the way somebody dresses or the way they look,
Yeah.
or where, maybe their work experience isn't, or the college they went to isn't as, high profile as somebody else. But to me, the cream rises to the top. It's the same thing as like Division II or Division III basketball players who, when they work out, are better than the kids that went to Duke or UConn or St. John's or Syracuse. But, they played at a Division II school. People don't know who they are. It takes more time for them to get to that, NBA summer league route or NBA training camp. No one was even considering them when they were coming out of school. But over time, when they played overseas or when they played in the G League or when they worked out for specific teams, it didn't matter where they played in college or what they've done before that. If they're better than the player ahead of them, they'll get the job.
Well, they threw me out. What do you mean? What do you
Why
mean? What the fuck? They didn't appreciate me.
I'm not talking about you. But
No, I
I'm
know,
saying,
but I'm telling you, they threw me out.
what was the reason for them throwing you out?
All right. I was only making terrible money there.
Right.
So the week after I left work, I went to go bet there.
Right.
I bet 40,000.
Right.
I go back the next day. They said, no, you've been thrown out of here. Then I got something in the letter in the mail that said I was money laundering. I wasn't. I won at Twin River.
Right.
The bottom line is they just didn't want me there. I get it.
But while you were working there, why did they have like an issue with you? Like, why did you just quit? Correct?
Well, no.
They
Well, originally I
they
was.
threw you out of the casino after you already weren't working there.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So what happened was I was. Well, really. So what happened was the drive was terrible,
Right.
right? So from there I got a job at Plain Ridge in Mass. So a week before I was gonna start, I turned that down because I didn't want to do the industry anymore, the sports betting industry, because and you know how much I love sports and all that. It made me sick to my stomach knowing what the higher, like what the companies do to the customers,
Right.
and also what the customers do to the companies. It's a cat and mouse game, and it's absolutely disgusting, in my opinion. You have these well, $1 million companies, $1 billion companies. They don't want anybody with a half a brain to continue to bet because in the long run they'll win,
Right.
and they don't like that. They want dopes like the parlays I do.
Right.
That's all they want. Suckers, basically. Whatever. I'm a sucker for doing them. You don't do parlays. You know they're sucker bets.
So what would have made things differently? What would have been ideal for you? Or what is ideal for you now? Like, what would be your dream? What would be your ideal situation? And what type of work are you doing to get there? And like, you realize like how long it'll take to get to a certain
Oh,
point.
well, 11 years. By the time I'm 50, I'll be out of Rhode Island.
Okay. And where will you be?
Probably somewhere in Florida, doing the podcast from there, flying everywhere.
Nice.
Yeah, that's
That'd
what.
be
Yeah,
great.
and I'm gonna do it in
Listen,
my
you
whole.
have a you have a great personality. You have a great network. You can, there's no question in my mind. Like, you give them shit 11 years. Think about where you're going to be in 11 years from now and how wonderful it is. You're going to laugh that you're actually doing a podcast from your car, you know, talking to me, when you probably have like celebrities, athletes, movie
You are a
stars,
celebrity, no?
rappers. All right. I
Well,
appreciate that. But
yeah, but here's what people don't know. None of those people ever text me, ask me if I knew anybody that wanted to buy a piece of the Golden State Warriors.
yeah, there's always opportunities out there. To do bigger and big things. And like in life, you only have to be right once.
Mark Cuban says that.
You could be wrong so many times. You could have so many failed businesses and so many jobs that you didn't enjoy. You just have to find that one, situation or that one niche or that one angle to get somewhere and be like that. So same thing like with investing. You could invest in 10 companies that go bottom up and fail. And then you could just get that one that you hit that home run or that grand slam and you're set for life. And that's like the outlook I like. I love to talk to people. I love to read. I love to
Yeah.
listen to podcasts. I feel like I love the whole podcast realm just because I know for myself I've learned so much in the last 5 years, more in the last 5 years than I've learned in the last 30 years. Learned more than I ever learned in college or anything like that. Just because whatever interests me, I could basically get a PhD in that subject by listening to the elite of the elite on any subject matter.
That's how I look at it because I like following the elite people,
Right.
knowing how they got there and the steps they took, like the steps they took, the pressure they faced, everything.
Every night before I go to bed, I listen to 30 minutes to an hour of a podcast of a subject that interests me. And I just fall asleep listening to it. And just that knowledge or that insight that I get just motivates me and just makes me feel like super smart compared to like the average person out there. I don't think I'm an expert in any one field, but I feel like I know a little or a little to a lot about a lot of subjects, subjects that interest me. So I can always like learn.
Well, you have to be well-rounded, especially nowadays. But if you ever noticed, majority of the not even higher ups, the majority of dopes out there, seriously. They really don't know anything. I'm dead serious.
You're 100% right. A lot of the times
Fucking dopes.
It's right place at the right time a lot of times. It's situations, it's whatever. And that also, knowing that, gives me the confidence to go into any room, to speak to any executive, to speak to any team president, team owner, to whomever, because in my mind, I'm equal to everybody.
I agree.
Not smart, I don't look at myself as being like narcissistic, but a little bit. I feel like I'm just as smart as anybody out there, and can just hold a conversation with anybody. Or if I don't know about a subject, I will learn it. Even with like my players, I tell them I'm not the smartest person. I don't know. I don't have the answers to everything. But whatever problems we have or whatever situations I will find the best of the best, whether it's an accountant, a lawyer, whatever we need, doctor, specific, specific doctor, whether it's orthopedic or whether it's an eye doctor or whatever. I'll do the research. So I'm like a point guard when it comes to that. I'll just find the right situations. I'm not the one with the answers to everything, but just with work ethic and just having the belief that I know I can get to the best of the best, that I'll research it as long as it takes.
Like, you see how you said that? That's what basically that's what I do. When I was in Saratoga last year, like, wild shit. I
love seeing what you did. I love that.
Well, I'm not talking about the horse, but go ahead. What were you gonna say?
I love that you went to Dave Portnoy's house and knocked on his door and dropped winning picks into his mailbox. I love that you did it more than one day. I love that you videoed it. I love that it was documented.
Yeah, my friends helped me, John and Dave.
Yeah, I think that's fabulous. I think you have to be bold. I think like I tell like college students all the time, if send emails, send 5 emails, 10 emails to the same person. Eventually, keep calling. Eventually, you're going to be an annoyance to them that you're just going to be like, shit, I might as well just call this person back. They're going to keep calling. I always tell like people, just show up at somebody's office. If they're not giving you, knock on their door. Don't ask them for a job. Ask them for advice. Say you would love to sit with them for 5 minutes, 10 minutes. Do they have time, just to give for some advice? I don't think you just go into someone and ask them for a job. But I think if you're willing to just get advice from anybody, everybody should be willing to get on a phone call or a face-to-face meeting for a few minutes with somebody.
Well, what about this? So, like Saratoga now, I was in the trainer Todd Pletcher?
Yes, I know the name.
All right, yeah.
Okay.
The Preakness is this weekend, by the way.
I'll need some winners from you offline.
No, we'll get them. They don't win, but we'll get them.
Okay.
So, like, I was in this stable because my friend owns a horse that Todd Pletcher trains.
Right.
So there was 3 guys in the corner, so I went up to them, introduced myself, whatever, just to be friendly. One of them was the owner of the Florida Panthers.
Right. You had mentioned that. Frank
Viola.
Right?
And he was going to be, I think, Trump's Army guy.
It's not Frank, is it?
Frank. Oh, Vinny ain't Frank. Frank's
Vinny,
the pitcher for the Mets with the mustache.
I said Frank. Yeah.
Yeah, Vinny Viola.
Yeah.
But so I was bullshitting with him, and his exact words to me were, "It's not difficult. All it is hard work." And I like that. And what I like the most about it, then we went our own ways.
Hard work is the bare minimum. Everybody works hard. I think like just because you work hard, it is not an excuse or a reason why you get a job or a situation.
No, you need to know the right people too, honestly.
It's to me like hard work is expected. That's not like I don't give myself a pat on the back or pat anybody on the back for working hard. To me, that's just a necessity. That's just like what you need to do to be successful in life.
Well, the point of the story is what I thought was cool is 10 minutes later when I was leaving, he remembered my name and said bye. I thought that's cool. Not every day a billionaire remembers you.
Right. They're just regular people that
lucky. I know,
they've
but
gotten
still.
lucky. They've been in the right situation. They met the right people. They bumped into somebody. They did the right investments. They're no different from anybody. Billionaires, millionaires, whatever.
I was going to email him when you asked me about the Warriors.
You should always keep in touch with these people. And like to me, like once a month or once every 6 months is not like enough. It's almost like once a week type of thing. Like you read something, you hear something, even if you forward them an article or send them a podcast that you've done, let them know what's going on in your life. You ask them what's going on in their life. The Florida Panthers are doing well in the playoffs. Just caught the end of the game. Not the biggest hockey fan, but cheering for the Panthers because of you. Like that's the type of thing. Like anytime like a player,
not, but he's a Ranger fan. That's the funny part.
So you can talk Rangers with them as well.
Yeah.
What's going to happen when the Rangers possibly play Florida? You ask them that question. You always find a reason, like, to reach out to somebody. Like even players that I don't represent or that I used to represent, or maybe they're retired. If I see something that's great's gone on through social media, through maybe one of their family members or their siblings or something, like I always just find a reason to text somebody. Like just 1-2 words, couple like a sentence is good enough. And like they write back right away. Sometimes it takes people a while too, but you just always be fresh in people's mind is like, to me, is what's important.
That's what do you know the Babcocks?
Yeah. Yep.
Do you really?
Yeah, of course. Dave and Pete and all of them. Yeah. Matt.
Oh, really?
Yep. Well, I worked for the Nets, and Dave worked for the Nets when I first started, like when I was an intern in the late 90s.
Did you know Bob or no?
Not
Rob.
so much. I know who they are, all of them, but I didn't have a relationship too much. Just
So
David,
you know how you're talking about checking in with people, stuff like that.
right?
So Rob Babcock, he used to. So when the NCAA tournament was in Providence, like
Right,
when Kawhi Leonard was at San Diego State,
right.
I sat next to this poor guy for 2 days for the session. I talked this guy's ear off.
Yeah,
We became friends.
perfect.
In like a relationship. Every time he was a scout for the Timberwolves, but before that,
Right.
the GM of the Raptors, by the way.
Yep.
So we built a friendship, and every time he was in town, we had lunch and shit like that. He passed away, I think 5 years ago, something like that. But I visited him in the hospital, brought him pizza, which I thought it was cool. Like that's a friendship.
Yeah, of course.
Just from sitting next to somebody, keeping in touch with somebody. Then he passed away. The family invited me to the memorial at his house. Like that's nice. Off of a
Absolutely.
conversation and
Those are
checking
great.
in.
That's like you should like have pride in that not only did he but also like his family like
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
enough of you off like some random meeting that you guys met at like a game, an NCAA tournament, that you kept that relationship going. And like that's kind of like how I like to deal with people. I just want to just keep in touch. I wish everybody the best. Like I'm that type of person, want everyone to be successful. I feel like, you know, you become successful as other people come successful around you. You know, your network of people. You don't want to, you don't want to be the smartest one. You want to learn
You're
from all
right.
the people around you. You want to be like not the dumbest one, but you don't want to be the smartest one. You want to
Well,
have more. You want to be surrounded by people that are more successful than you are.
well,
That's the way I look at it.
that's the reason why I like Dave Portnoy. That the main reason is
Right?
because when he signed $1 million worth of game podcast, the guy Gillian Wallow, I don't know if you follow them. The guy Wallow I always post,
Okay. I
whatever.
don't follow it that much, but
But regardless, so
I have a
when
like ton of respect for him, like how he started in like with like handing out papers by the train at like 5 a.m. to like people
exact.
just yeah.
So what I like about him when he signed $1 million worth of game, he gave them all his resources, anything they need, his resources, which is nice because this is just my opinion, and I see people say this also. If you're at a top level, you have no problem helping people. You should actually.
You don't because you don't feel threatened by anybody.
Yeah,
If you the only people that are like nervous or don't want to help people are people that feel threatened. And I don't go into anybody, feeling threatened. When young agents need advice, I'll give them my partners, let them know the agents that I work with overseas. I want them to be successful. I've had interns that have gone on to, represent, you know, decent NBA players, and it's rewarding because you're
really?
also
Who?
it doesn't matter the players, but you know, but I also give them like my partners as well, and sometimes I end up getting screwed a little bit because I'll give my partner my list of players, and then I'll give my friend my partners, and they'll give them their list, and then I'll take my friend's players over my players, which maybe they would have signed my players if I wasn't so nice. But
Geez, I wish I can go try to sign a player with you. They might like me.
I'm sure they would. I'm sure they
Yeah,
would. You can listen if you wanted to be a player agent. It's not very difficult. They do a background check on you, which I think you would pass,
yeah.
and you have to take a 50 question multiple choice exam with an open book. And
Oh,
there's a session the day before, a review session. It's not very hard to do. Being an agent's a lot about like your network and knowing people and knowing things, but I could always help you, with that if that's something that interests you.
yeah, yeah. I would like to spend a day with you. Can we one day?
Absolutely.
Yeah, but we'll go bet some games first, though. No.
Okay, you should come out to Summer League, Vegas in July. It's like July 12th to like the 22nd. I'll probably be out there for like the first half of that. It's a great networking event. You get to see good basketball. You get to see the guys that were just drafted. And
I like that.
you see free agents that have played in Europe that are trying to make teams. And regardless whether they make teams or not, it's also good exposure for them because all the European teams and Asian teams and South American teams are there scouting those games and watching it. So a lot of negotiations go on like in the evenings or early in the morning before the games and after the games.
So what? You'll be at like dinner and negotiating with somebody?
Yeah, like it might be an overseas general manager will want to be interested in one of my players, and they'll make an offer, and I'll let them know like what I'm looking for and what other offers that I have on the table. when you
Do you
say
ever
like
lie?
like the negotiations aren't that like high tech. It's basically like if I have 3 or 4 teams wanting a specific player, I could use them and play them against each other. And one team's offering X, can you go better? And then keep on like that circle going higher and higher and higher. So
Do you ever bullshit them? Say, oh, such and such team.
I never bullshit. I never lie because that always comes back to haunt you at the end, and you don't want to burn bridges. And if they found out that they'll never deal with you again and never sign a player of yours. And
Really?
to me, like your reputation is the most important thing that you have, and your credibility is the most important thing. So I'd rather be honest than ever just lie to a team just to get my player a little bit more money. And my players know that too. Like I'm not going to lie. If there was an issue, if they got in trouble somewhere, if they had an injury, like let's just throw it all out on the table, type of thing.
I got two more things I want to talk about. Right?
Sure.
What do you what do you think of the gambling in the NBA, all the professional sports, and
I
the
don't think it's that
Jonte
much.
Porter thing?
I don't look at it as like being an issue in professional sports because athletes make so much money. Like, why risk anything
Yeah.
to make whatever? Porter made like $12,000 or $20,000. Like, he's giving up like an $800,000 minimum NBA contract for that. Like, that's just stupid. Like, I really didn't think it's like an issue would ever be an issue in professional sports. Where I do see it potentially being a problem is in college sports with those athletes that don't make any money or very little money now with NILs. People approach them, I'm sure. It's nothing that I've heard or seen. Even when I worked at UMass, there was never anybody around the program or anything that I knew of or saw any gambling around. But we also did a very good job, and also when I worked at the Nets, of educating the players and putting fear in their minds and in their heads. What could go wrong, whether it's mafia connections approaching them, or everything's being tracked. Wi-Fi is being tracked in the building. Text messages are being tracked. You really can't get away with anything these days. Like I think,
Yeah, but I get that. But you think these players are thinking, look at these fucking guys telling me when they know you guys bet and shit?
well, I think it's funny when people lose and then reaching out to players on
Yeah, that's
Twitter
weird.
or Instagram, like how much of like a loser do you have to be? And you think the players are really concerned about your like over two
No,
and
they
a
don't
half
care.
3-point, props, or whether they get 12 rebounds or 11 rebounds, like to go over like a number for like their people. Coaches don't care. People don't look at it really.
But the players definitely know what the spread of the game is. 100%.
Some do, some don't. I think
Majority do. They have to, especially nowadays. It's everywhere.
it is everywhere, but I don't really think the players care so much about
No,
it. You know,
but like you said, you would worry about the college players. I somewhat agree to that because
right?
but there's not one sports book that will ever take bets enough to make it worth it. That's my
Yeah,
defense to, you know what I mean?
yeah. I mean, information gets out there on like player injuries or slight injuries, or coaches might come out and say like a player who averages 30 minutes a game is only going to be like on a minutes restriction, and all that information is out there a lot of times. I think like the NBA does a really good job monitoring this stuff. There's companies out there to any athlete that would even consider it. Like it just doesn't make any financial sense to even get involved in that.
I agree with that. But like, just say like Josh Hart for an example. He's on record. He bets football pile, whatever he does, like
Yeah,
fun stuff.
I don't really have an issue with that. Like if an
Yeah,
NBA
me
player
neither. Yeah,
if an NBA player wants to bet on baseball or go to the racetrack or play roulette or do whatever, like that's fine.
yeah.
They should be able to gamble on that. I even like NBA refs are not allowed to gamble on any sports, or not, they're not even allowed to go to the horse track. They're not even allowed
Seriously?
to. I don't even think they're allowed to be in casinos, like and play like blackjack or roulette or anything. I'm not 100%
Really?
positive about that, but I believe I've heard that thing. Like to me, that's really overkill in my eyes.
But I just can't understand how they do all this. Like they suspend these guys. Well, Porter's a moron. Like really, and the other brother just got sentenced to jail too.
Right.
Family's
Yeah.
fucked up.
Well, Michael Porter's doing well for
Yeah,
himself.
he's good.
Yeah, he's good.
But like, what are you thinking? Like, it's so obvious. At least stay in the game a little longer.
Yeah. Like like what like the whole thing to me is like risk versus reward type of thing. Like the risk is not even close to like what the
No,
reward is.
dumb.
Yeah.
Was he
So
good?
I mean, you make it to the NBA, you're good. You know,
Yeah,
like
you're right.
the worst players in the NBA are, you know, top 0.1% of the world.
Yeah, that.
So
I remember, like as a kid, I always thought like these play. As a kid, oh, he sucks, this and that.
yeah,
Like growing now, since I'm somewhat older and an adult, somewhat,
yeah.
you can actually suck at your job. Seriously, like there's NBA players, NFL, MLB, they suck at their job. They're good to make it, but they suck at performing.
But they're unbelievably good. Like for anybody to
Not
mock
a yeah, not a
any NBA player, like it's just funny. Like when people like Brian Scalabrine, we talked about this before. Like people reach out to him saying like, "You suck. I could beat you
yeah.
1-on-1. Meet me here." And he made a comment like, "I'm closer to LeBron James' ability than you are to me." That's 100% true.
Of course
Like
it
these
is.
guys are so good. Like they don't miss shots in the gym. Like they take 100 threes, they're making 90,
No, I'm
85 to 90 with nobody on it. They're so fit. The guys that look out of shape and that don't look strong are in such great shape and are so
yeah. What
physically.
about the Joker? He must be in great. He looks like he's just like there.
Yeah, like his
Like,
body's not like what you would think an NBA. The guy won the MVP 3 times, and even the guys who you think that are out of shape, just to play in an NBA game, you can't be out of shape. So they might
like
look out of shape, but they're not out of shape.
What about Zion?
Is he at his peak performance? Is he at 100% like his ability if he got into better shape? But he's still unbelievably in great shape, like compared to like anybody
Me?
else in the
Yeah.
world. Anybody else in the world, like he's so strong, so fast, so quick, has great hands. Could he lose a little bit of like body fat? Maybe can he get conditioning be a little bit better? Can he play 40 minutes as opposed to 30 minutes? Sure. Everybody could improve. LeBron James can improve. Like everybody
You think his
improves.
kid's good?
Time will tell. I think there's a lot of pressure on him.
Oof.
I think like, if he becomes an NBA starter, but he doesn't become an all-star, is he a failure? To me, obviously not.
No.
If he makes an NBA roster, is he a failure? If he struggles his rookie year or first couple years in the NBA, is he a failure? No. What is he? 19 years old now? What's he going to be? What's he going to be in 5 years with the work ethic that he has? What's he going to be projected in 8 years? Like it's not where you are today, too. Just like I said, it's not where you start. It's where you finish.
Yeah.
It's his potential, his pedigree. He's got his father. He's got resources. He's got the best coaching, the best trainers, the best dietitians, the best everything. I'd like to see him succeed. I'd like to see him.
It's not fair to him either because he didn't ask for all the press. You know what I mean?
Listen, people are given advantages in life, but it's what you do with those advantages.
Yeah.
Not everybody starts at zero. Sometimes people start at second base or third base, but how are you gonna like get that home run? How are you gonna get back to being the best? That's just part of life. People are given certain advantages in life. Some people are certain disadvantages in life. But just because you start at a disadvantage or an advantage doesn't necessarily mean where you're going to end up, in the future. So, like, to me, I don't really look at him. I'm curious to see how it all turns out. I think, like in everything in life, there's waves. Like I said, life isn't just a straight up or a straight down. There's always peaks and valleys. And like I said, it's just about staying level, keeping your head level. Don't be too high. Don't be too low.
You're really positive. You always been positive?
I don't know if I've always been positive, but I think it beats the alternative being negative. If I walked around thinking negative thoughts and thinking I'm going to get fucked all the time and everything's going to go bad for me, is that helping me? Or is it me? I set very high goals for myself and I don't reach those goals, but I still do well for myself by like, if I'm 20% off what I want to, where I want to be in life, that's still probably better than a majority of people. There's bigger and better in everything, So it's all.
Yeah, that's why. That's
like,
why I was like so nervous to start and shit.
Yeah, like I
put too much
I don't
pressure.
think. Like to me, I know like this is gonna sound corny, but like pressure, like I know like Billie Jean King said, pressure is a privilege, but pressure is a good thing. Pressure means you care. there's no pressure if you didn't give a shit. So like you caring and saying there's pressure, to me, I look at that as a positive. Like
Yeah,
if you didn't really care and if you just did something on a whim because it was fun, and if it went well, great, and if it went bad, great. Who cares? That wouldn't motivate me to come on your podcast as much. The fact that you care and want it to be successful and say you want to give it, a decade's worth of work. To me, just like I said, I'm excited to see where Bronny James ends up in 10
yeah.
years. It's no different from you. Like it's a genuine curiosity, and I actually care more about you than him because I've never met him and I've met you.
I would
And I
hope
like
so.
you. So to me, it's like, very similar.
Yeah, you think we should go to a game this year?
Whenever you want. I invited you last year,
No, we went
and
to the Mets game. That
I'm
Mr.
talking
Met
about
opened.
basketball. I'm talking about the NCAA tournament, the Sweet 16 last
What?
year at the Garden.
Well, I had work,
Okay.
but this year the first and second rounds at the Dunkin' Donut, well, at Providence.
Yeah.
Why don't you
We'll see
come
who.
down? No,
Yeah, definitely. Even any Big East games during the season too.
I think I'm
I,
all in on St. John's this year.
yeah, they got some good.
Richmond, Kadari
Kadari
Richardson,
Richmond, yeah,
Richmond.
I think he'll be the Big East Player of the Year.
Really?
And I think it's I don't really like the landscape of college basketball where guys can leave year after year
Yeah,
and
it sucks.
go to the highest bidder, because I'm all about loyalty and like I said, player development, and you know when things aren't going well, how do you get yourself out of a tough situation? By working hard, not by giving up and going to another school.
Yeah,
Everybody always thinks like the grass is greener somewhere else. Players always and you can't be coached if a coach can't be hard on you if you know if you're going to be super hard, they're just going to leave and go there the next year. But I am curious with Kadari Richmond just being coached by Patino and that NBA pedigree, and seeing like he obviously has a great base of where he is today, but like where can he be in 12 months or in 2 years
how
from now? To
it,
me, I think he can be. To me, he's a first round NBA player.
what
Like
about Cal now, Coach Cal? How do you think he'll do at Arkansas?
I think he'll be great. I mean, if I had a son who was an elite college basketball player, there's nobody else in the country I'd want
Really?
coach, because he knows what it takes to get to the next level. He gets the players to buy into his system,
He actually
and
cares about them.
yeah, he wants them all to be successful. He tells them to leave when it's time for them to leave, um, and he's had so much success over years where he actually can coach them, and he has, you know, that he coached Devin Booker and Anthony Davis and John Wall and all those guys. So if you're a young kid, you'd be stupid not to listen to everything that he says, whether it's get in the weight room or change your diet,
Yeah.
or give examples of Anthony Davis was like the fifth leading scorer on the team that won the championship, and he got drafted number one. It doesn't
Remember
matter.
Deron Lamb?
Yeah, of course. All those teams, Michael Kidd Gilchrist, so many
Yeah.
guys like have gone on, to play for him. And now all those players that were going to go to Kentucky will go to Arkansas because they want to be coached by him. They want to get to the next level. And I love what like Danny Hurley's doing in Connecticut. I saw an interview recently how he doesn't just recruit the kids; he's recruiting the parents.
I
He
seen
wants
that.
to see about the parents that aren't, just patting them on the back or telling them that someone else is messing up. That's just as important. It's the same thing for like an agent when you talk to like kids and talk to families. Like I'll know like in the first couple seconds whether this kid and this family is for me or if they're not. Do they have the same mindset that I have, or are they just looking for a quick buck, or are they just going to take the highest bidder, whatever agent's going to you know give them a little bit of money or take care of them in the summer before they start off their rookie season. And if they're just looking at it as like a 1 year or 2 year payday, or are they thinking about like what's best for the player over their 10 to 12 year career? It's the same thing. And like what type of parents, like what do the parents do for a living? What are their work ethic? Do they make excuses for the kid or not? To me, those are all things that are very telling. And I learned all that stuff from being in the scouting department of the Nets because again, there's such a fine line of guys who make it and don't make it. It's the guys who have the right mentality and the right approach and that come from like well-structured families or discipline, have the discipline to like once they're given money or what's their goal. Just like I asked you, like their end game, what's their end goal? I asked the same thing for the players. Like where do they see themselves in 5 years, 10 years? What do they want to do after their careers? Just like I said, I don't talk about too much about. I'm not going to make them a better basketball player. They're not going to shoot better because of me, but I can make them a better person. Like if they didn't finish their college degree, like are they going to go take classes in the summer? Or are they going to do online classes during the season? They're only practicing 2, 3, 4 hours a day. So how are you occupying your other 20 hours of the day? Are you doing things to benefit yourself, or are you just playing video games, wasting time, running around the city, partying or doing whatever? I like people that are, focused on where they want to get to. I don't care how
What?
long it takes to get there.
Yeah, but what about like now? Like you have all that talent in the locker room, right? With Coach Cal, right? Like back in the day, Marcus Camby, this, like,
Right.
were you in awe of it because
It
you
was
were
very
number one
new.
team in the country?
It was very new. It was very new to me. It was awesome because you start off as a fan
Yeah,
of players, of people. Even when I got to the Nets,
I'm a big fanboy.
I was a Syracuse fan as a child, and now all of a sudden, when I first started working for the Nets, there's Sherman Douglas on the team, Ronnie Cycli on the team. The players that I was like fans of when I was 13, 14, 15 years old with, now I'm on the plane with. Now I'm
Yeah,
having dinner with them. And it's kind of like a little bit of a letdown because you put them on such a pedestal, and then when you meet them, they're just like you. They're just regular guys. They have their good moments. They have their bad moments. They might be moody. They might not be the best teammate. They might not be the hardest worker. It's kind of like it's an interesting dynamic. You lose like your fandom a little bit when you work in sports. So like basketball was my number one sport, but now I also enjoy watching baseball and football and golf. Like to me, I may enjoy like watching them as a fan more so that than basketball anymore because I don't really have like a team or
I
players,
really don't either.
anymore because I work in it though. But like with baseball, I have certain players that I like, and
You like Otani?
yeah, of course I
I
do.
do too. You think he was gambling a little bit, honestly?
I don't.
Really?
I don't. Yeah.
I do 1,000,000%. Not all of it. I think some, absolutely. That's
I,
just my opinion.
I don't think so. I think to be that elite and that focus and that discipline and that type of schedule to be a pitcher and a hitter and not have
Well, he's
off
not
days.
pitching this year.
Yeah, but even like in the past, like, and to be that elite, I think they have like such tremendous focus, especially him, and everything is like minute by minute. I don't think he doesn't need to. I mean, he has unlimited funds. Like,
Yeah, but being a degenerate. Not you. I'm not calling you. I'm saying like a
yeah,
degenerate. Just
yeah.
it
Like,
don't matter.
people like action, but you can
Yeah,
find
yeah.
action somewhere else. Not like doing
Why you
that.
want to go? Why you want to go bet some dogs one day?
I've never done that.
Why you want to?
Not particularly. No.
What do you mean?
Like
We'll have a great time.
that's not my hanging out with you. I'd have a good time, but I
All right,
don't
we'll
really
go
care.
bet some horses then.
Okay. I've never been to Saratoga either.
I'm going for the Belmont in June.
Yeah, that's cool that they're having the Belmont up there. I know
Oh, I
that.
can't wait. If that Mystic Dan wins the Preakness Saturday, it's gonna be crazy out there.
Yeah,
I'm not gonna wear a horse costume. I'm gonna wear a suit.
yeah. You gotta fit. You gotta fit in. You gotta be cool.
No, I don't fit in, but I will wear a suit.
There'll be a lot of single women there, attractive women dressed up. So be a good opportunity for you.
Hopefully with a ton of money.
It won't
I don't
hurt
even.
you.
To be honest, I don't even care. Like, if I wanted to be like a pool boy, it wouldn't even bother me. I would retire right now.
Okay. Well, you still got. Even if you're doing that, you still got to keep this podcast going.
Yeah, I will. In the pool on a raft.
All right. That could be
That's
your
it.
thing.
All right, I'm going to go get something to eat quick.
All right. What are you getting?
McDonald's probably.
Come on, man. Eat healthier than that.
I lost 40 something pounds. I started when you first met me. I think I was like 230. I'm 205 right now.
Good job. Keep it going.
Yeah,
What are you doing? On a treadmill? You running?
No, I go to my friend's gym. Pete, he does
Okay.
it. Yeah, it's like I do all classes. You got good classes and shit.
Get Pete on the podcast and break down your work. I think that'll be an interesting podcast.
Yeah, no,
Track it like for your listeners
yeah.
To see your improvement. I think that's like another like I'm all about self improvement.
Well, it's a big difference from the first one until now.
Yeah, but making yourself accountable is great. Like I write everything down.
I do too.
So I think like that's just the way of keeping like yourself accountable. And if you have like listeners, holding you accountable as well, that's a good thing as well. Well, I appreciate your time. I appreciate you doing this. I'm honored to be on your podcast. And like
I wanted to personally thank you for motivating me, helping me, like talking. I get down and shit. I just want to personally thank you.
Well, you seem self-motivated, and like I said, I think this podcast has a great future.
I appreciate it. All right, I'll text you later.
All right, we'll talk, buddy. Take care.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Bye.